You've seen Diogenes. You've seen the man who needed nothing, the one who threw away every illusion until the world had nothing left to buy him with. And for a moment, you felt it too. That strange peace that comes when you realize how much of your life has been spent chasing what you never really needed. But then the video ends. The bills remain. The phone still buzzes. You still have to wake up, work, talk to people, play the game, and a quiet question appears. What now? If I no longer believe in the world's lies, how do I live in it without becoming its prisoner again? Do I retreat like Diogenes and live on the edges? Or do I learn to walk through the city without letting it own me? This is where two ancient minds meet. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled an empire yet refused to let it rule him, and Niccolò Machiavelli, the man who watched empires collapse and wrote the manual for surviving their fall. Marcus mastered the inner kingdom, the realm of judgment, discipline, and virtue. Machiavelli mastered the outer kingdom, the realm of perception, leverage, and power. Each faced the same truth: you cannot escape the system, but you can decide what part of you it will never reach. This is not a video about withdrawal. It's about learning to move inside the machinery without letting it brand your soul. Marcus will teach you how to remain whole when the noise is loud. Machiavelli will teach you how to read the noise and use it, and together they offer a single path: to play the system without becoming its slave. Waking up is easy, living awake is the test. Marcus Aurelius was not a philosopher sitting in comfort. He was an emperor surrounded by war, sickness, betrayal, and the slow decay of everything he was sworn to protect. And yet, in the middle of that storm, he wrote a private journal, not for history, not for students, not for power, but to remind himself how to remain free when everything around him demanded obedience. That journal became Meditations. It is not a book of quotes, it is an operating system for the mind. Marcus begins with a single rule: the world can touch your body, but not your judgment. The Stoics called this prohairesis, the faculty of choice. It is the one space no emperor, no employer, no circumstance can invade. When you decide what something means, you decide whether it owns you. Every insult, every loss, every demand is just an event. It becomes suffering only when you grant it meaning. That's why Marcus trained his judgment every day. He practiced noticing his reactions and asking, "Is this in my control?" If it was, he acted. If it wasn't, he let it go. This is not passivity, it's precision. It's the art of conserving energy for what truly belongs to you. He also practiced what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. Each morning he imagined the people he would meet, the selfish, the angry, the ungrateful. He rehearsed the pain before it came, so when it arrived, it found him calm. He imagined loss, so when loss came, he was ready. This was not coldness. It was compassion without dependency. Because you can't love the world if you fear its change. And then came duty. For Marcus, virtue, not success, was the goal. He did what was right because it was right, not because it paid. He reminded himself that fame dies with the ones who speak your name, and wealth dies the moment it passes to another hand. But the quality of your action, that remains. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Through this discipline, Marcus built something no power could touch, an inner citadel. Inside that fortress, he could lose wars, titles, even his life, and still not lose himself. But Marcus's wisdom, though unbreakable, was incomplete. He mastered the self, not the game. He knew how to endure injustice, not how to outmaneuver it. His armor protected the soul, but it didn't teach how to survive in a world ruled by perception and cunning. And that's where Machiavelli enters, not to replace Marcus, but to complete him. Because once you've learned not to be ruled from within, you must learn not to be ruled from without. Prohairesis is the last domain no ruler can tax, but the world still taxes everything else. If Marcus Aurelius wrote from the throne, Machiavelli wrote from exile. He had watched the rise and fall of princes, the betrayals, the executions, the quiet brutality of survival in Florence. When the game devoured him, he did not retreat into virtue. He studied the game itself. Out of that study came The Prince, not a moral sermon, but a manual for seeing power without illusion. Machiavelli began with one observation: the world rewards perception, not purity. He called this skill virtu, not virtue as Marcus meant it, but the power to shape events rather than be shaped by them. To him, the good man who cannot act decisively is not good. He is ineffective. And in a world run by incentives, ineffectiveness is a kind of moral failure. Virtue is not cruelty for pleasure. It is command over necessity. It's the ability to strike, to wait, to bend without breaking. A ruler without virtue is like a sailor who refuses to learn the wind. He may have noble intentions, but he will drown just the same. Then there was Fortuna, the unpredictable sea that carries every life. You cannot control it, but you can build a stronger ship. Machiavelli taught that half of life is chance, but the other half is preparation. You must anticipate storms, guard your leverage, and strike when the tide turns. Because the world is not moved by fairness, it is moved by force, timing, and perception. That last word, perception, was Machiavelli's quiet genius. He understood that humans act not from truth, but from what they believe is true. Therefore, power belongs to whoever shapes that belief. He advised rulers to manage appearances, not to deceive maliciously, but to prevent chaos. Men judge more by the eye than by the hand, he wrote, for everyone can see, but few can feel. To survive among the ambitious, you must master the theater of behavior, how you appear, when to speak, when to withhold. But the sharpest insight came from his study of loyalty. Never test faith with grand promises. Test it with small favors. The man who fails a small test will betray you in the large one. Machiavelli called this information asymmetry, the art of knowing more than those who depend on you, because the first rule of the game is this: whoever sees more of the board controls the play. Through virtue, fortuna, and appearance, Machiavelli built the external counterpart to Marcus's inner fortress. He didn't offer peace, he offered prediction. He didn't teach serenity, he taught survival. And just like Marcus, his wisdom came with a cost. Used without restraint, it corrodes, because the man who only manipulates loses sight of why he fights to live at all. Virtue is the craft of survival. Fortuna is the sea it must learn to sail. Marcus and Machiavelli never met, yet they describe the two halves of every man who wants to live awake. One half seeks peace in a world that never stops demanding. The other half seeks clarity in a world that never stops scheming. Both are right, but only if you know when to listen to which. Marcus lived in the kingdom within. His empire was not marble, but discipline. He believed that freedom begins where opinion ends. When you master your judgments, no insult can enslave you, no loss can undo you. His domain was meaning, the moral interpretation of what happens. His weapon was self-command. His risk was detachment, to become so focused on virtue that he no longer sees the moves being made outside his walls. Machiavelli lived in the kingdom without. His empire was made of human behavior, appearances, and incentives. He believed that survival depends not on what you think, but on what others think of you. When you master perception, you can direct events instead of being buried by them. His domain was power, the choreography of influence. His weapon was clarity without illusion. His risk was corrosion, to become so strategic that he forgets why he plays the game at all. Together they draw the map of existence, the inner citadel and the outer battlefield. Marcus protects your soul from ownership. Machiavelli protects your agency from extinction. But you must know which problem you're solving, or you'll use the wrong weapon. There are 4 variables that decide it. First, what's at stake, your soul or your survival? If it's your moral core being tested, someone asking you to betray what you stand for, that's Marcus's domain. The right move is restraint, silence, clarity of values. But if it's your livelihood, safety, or influence under threat, that's Machiavelli's domain. You act, negotiate, and protect position. Virtue doesn't require you to lose every battle. It requires you not to lose yourself in winning it. Second, time horizon. Are you reacting or steering? Marcus thinks in decades, Machiavelli in days. When time is short and danger close, strategy first. When time is long and reflection possible, principle first. The wise man alternates. He survives today so he can live rightly tomorrow. Third, visibility. Private conscience or public stage. In solitude, be Marcus. In spectacle, be Machiavelli. Because society doesn't reward truth, it rewards performance. But performance without conscience becomes hollow, and conscience without adaptation becomes suicide. Fourth, leverage. Do you have options? If you can walk away, choose virtue. If you cannot, use strategy until you can. Machiavelli's art begins where freedom ends. Marcus's begins when freedom returns. When you put these together, a pattern emerges. Marcus governs meaning. Machiavelli governs movement. One defines what cannot be bought. The other defines how not to be sold. Ignore either and you fall, either noble and broke or clever and empty. Picture it as a balance. The inner armor and the outer skill. When you face insult, injustice, or fear, ask, is this a test of my soul or a test of my survival? That single question determines the right teacher, because the Stoic who never learns to read the game becomes a victim dressed in dignity, and the Machiavellian who never learns to anchor his mind becomes a strategist with nothing left to protect. The rare man understands that both kingdoms exist inside him. He builds his fortress and he studies the map. He keeps his virtue clean, but his eyes open. He plays the system with precision, and yet, when the system looks back at him, it finds nothing to own. Inner armor without outward skill leaves you noble and exposed. Skill without an inner anchor leaves you effective and empty. Once you see both worlds clearly, the inner and the outer, you need a structure that holds them together. Because wisdom without a framework fades when pressure rises. So here is the architecture built from both Marcus and Machiavelli. 3 tiers that keep a man awake, adaptable, and unownable. The citadel, the lens, and the options. Tier 1, the citadel, Marcus's foundation. Every man needs a fortress no one can enter. Marcus called it his ruling faculty, the place where judgment lives. The citadel is not made of stone. It's made of daily rituals that remind you what you can and cannot control. You begin by defining your non-negotiables, the values you will not sell for comfort, for status, or for fear. Then you anchor yourself each morning with one act that belongs only to you. Maybe it's writing one clear sentence. Maybe it's sitting in silence for a minute before the world starts shouting. Marcus did this every day, and it's why the empire never owned his mind. The citadel grows stronger through negative visualization, rehearsing loss so that attachment cannot bribe you. Imagine failure, imagine rejection, imagine being misunderstood. Because if you've seen it already in your mind, it can't rule you when it comes. You'll know your citadel is weak when your emotions are bought easily, when flattery moves you or fear freezes you. Rebuild it by practicing small refusals. Say no once a day, not to rebel, but to remember you can. Tier 2, the lens, Machiavelli's instrument. The lens is how you read the system. It is the habit of seeing incentives instead of appearances. Machiavelli's genius was not cruelty, it was clarity. He noticed that people move for gain, not for truth, and that most conflicts come from pretending otherwise. Use the lens to map what people really want, not what they say, but what they fear losing. Then test loyalty with small favors before you bet on big ones. Share information like currency. Never too much, never too soon. Control your story, or someone else will use it. When your lens is weak, you get blindsided by what was predictable. You trust words instead of patterns. You confuse sympathy for strategy. The solution is to watch without reacting. Before you answer a request, ask, what outcome is this person optimizing for? It's not paranoia, it's literacy. Tier 3. The options. The ground of real freedom. This is where most men fail. They preach independence but build lives that require permission to breathe. Freedom isn't a feeling, it's a runway. It's having enough resources, skills, and relationships that you can say no without collapsing. Build a 3-month runway of savings or fallback work. Keep at least one tradable skill the system can't take. Protect one relationship that doesn't depend on your status. These are your parachutes. The things that turn moral clarity into practical power. Because when you have options, strategy becomes choice instead of survival. And Marcus's peace can finally exist in the real world, not just in thought. The ethical governor, the rule that keeps it human, but power without restraint becomes corrosion. So every move through this system must pass one test, the Stoic test of proheresis. Ask, does this action reduce dignity or reciprocity? If yes, it is corruption, not strategy. If no, it is prudence guided by conscience. Marcus built the moral engine. Machiavelli built the control system. Together, they create the only structure that works under chaos. A citadel to hold you, a lens to read the world, and options to walk away when it demands your soul. Build a citadel, use a lens, keep your parachutes. Miss any, and the system will find a way to buy you. Philosophy means nothing until life interrupts it, until you face a moment where comfort whispers louder than truth, until survival tempts you to betray your principles, until fortune shifts and you realize your peace was borrowed, not built. Those are the tests the system uses, not grand battles but quiet negotiations. Moments when your values, reputation, and composure are priced on the open market. This is where Marcus and Machiavelli both become real, not as theories but as weapons. Scenario 1, the compromise offer. Someone makes you an offer, it looks harmless. A raise, a partnership, an opportunity. But the fine print says, silence your conscience a little. The world rarely asks you to sell your soul. It just asks for a discount. Marcus speaks first. He would ask, what part of me must I lose to take this? Because no deal is profitable if it costs your command of self. He would remind you, if a man buys your compliance once, he owns your future choices forever. So you perform negative visualization. Imagine the pleasure, the praise, and then the hollow taste that follows. If you feel disgust, that is your answer. But Machiavelli isn't silent. He'd say, not all compromise is surrender. Sometimes it's positioning. If refusal will collapse your survival, slow down, delay, negotiate. Reframe the deal so you keep leverage. Ask questions that reveal motives. Who gains if you agree? Who loses if you don't? Truth hides in incentives, not in words. Marcus protects your integrity. Machiavelli protects your options. Use both and you become unbuyable. Scenario 2, the reputation trap. Now the test of appearance. The crowd wants your allegiance. Everyone's shouting, demanding you choose a side, sign a statement, post an opinion. They say silence is guilt, but noise can be slavery too. Machiavelli steps in. He knows public life runs on perception. Control the frame, or you'll be cast as a villain in someone else's play. Craft your message like a weapon, concise, precise, unemotional. Align it with truth, but present it with restraint. Let mystery work for you. The world fears what it can't predict. Then Marcus speaks. He reminds you that your duty is not to appease every audience, but to remain aligned with reason. He would tell you that the approval of fools is not a currency worth earning. He would remind you that calmness in a storm is a statement louder than shouting. You can respect others without betraying yourself. Say, I understand the passion, but I cannot speak on what I don't yet understand. Then fall silent. Let them reveal themselves in the noise. You remain still. That stillness is your authority. Scenario 3, the blow of fortune. Then there's the collapse, the sudden loss. Income gone, relationships shifting, life rearranged overnight. This is when the philosophies are stress-tested. Marcus steps first. He says, do not curse what has already happened. Ask what remains in your control. That question shifts the entire axis of suffering. He teaches you to view loss as training, each blow a rehearsal in detachment. To grieve, but not to rot. To remember that fortune's cruelty is universal, but endurance is personal. Then Machiavelli takes the field. He says, fortune hits hardest those who never prepared for her change. You move, not mourn. Reassess allies, map opportunities, act quickly before others define your downfall. The world respects composure, but it obeys momentum. Turn your fall into a feint. Make the system think you meant it. Here, both teachers merge. Marcus anchors your soul so you don't shatter. Machiavelli trains your eyes so you don't stay blind. Together they let you suffer without surrender. Every test, moral, social, or practical, is just the system asking the same question. How much of you is for sale? Your answer is not found in reaction, but in recognition. See which domain is under attack, your soul or your survival, and choose accordingly. Because when you are at risk, strategy buys time. When you have time, inner sovereignty buys peace. The man who masters both does not escape the system. He outlives it. When you are at risk, strategy buys time. When you have time, inner sovereignty buys peace. Together they make you unownable. Every philosophy that teaches power faces the same accusation. Isn't this manipulation? Isn't strategy just corruption with better language? The answer depends on direction. Machiavellian tactics are corrupt only when they exploit innocence. Used to defend autonomy, they are simply literacy. The line is intent, whether your action preserves dignity or drains it. Marcus faced the opposite charge. They said Stoicism kills emotion, turns men into statues. But he never preached numbness. He preached control. The difference between feeling deeply and being ruled by what you feel. Even then, both systems fail sometimes. You will misjudge, overreact, overreach. When that happens, return to your citadel. Apologize, recalibrate, rebuild your options. Because integrity is not perfection. It is the ability to self-correct before decay sets in. Strategy without restraint becomes tyranny. Restraint without skill becomes martyrdom. The rare man learns to carry both. Sharp mind, steady heart. Picture this. A man walks through the marketplace. Merchants call out his name. They promise comfort, applause, security. Every glittering form of obedience dressed as reward. He hears them, but he doesn't slow down. His pace is calm, his gaze steady. He lives among them, but he is not one of them. He plays the system, but the system cannot buy him. Marcus would say his mind is disciplined. Machiavelli would say his perception is exact. Together they would agree, this is the rare man. Not the man who hides from the world, but the one who can walk through it unowned. Because freedom isn't leaving society. It's walking through it with your soul untouchable. So here's the challenge. For 1 week, notice one pressure you feel. Pause before you react. Map the incentives behind it. Run it through your 4 variables: soul or survival, time or panic, visibility or privacy, leverage or dependence. Then speak one sentence that protects both truth and position. That's how mastery begins. Not in grand defiance, but in small, precise refusals. Be unownable, not unreachable. Because the world only controls the man who still needs its permission. If this made you see the world a little clearer, stay, think deeper. This is ThinkMate.